this video discusses topics that may be disturbing to some viewers. It discusses cases of missing and/or murdered victims whose case has been solved by using forensic genetic genealogy. Viewer discretion is advised.
A young Siobhan McGinnis was known as being an energetic and very smart 5-year-old girl living with her family in the scenic city of Missoula, Montana. The town itself was known for being a peaceful community, and a quiet one as well. Siobhan was making her way home from a friend's house a few blocks away when she vanished. The community gathered and created search parties and tried to find the little girl all throughout the early nighttime and throughout the night. Sadly, as hours began to become double digits, the sadness began to set in, and the hope of finding little Siobhan began to disappear as well. Within a few days, little Siobhan's small body was found stuffed in a snowy culvert. Sadly, the young girl's body had been violated, and she had been stabbed to death with what her death certificate states as only a sharp instrument. As the decades followed with little leads, the Missoula Police Department did keep an expansive eye on this case, trying to find who would have done these types of things to such a young girl. The community was very involved in the search for the little girl's killer. They went as far as to even cooperate with the Missoula police and used voluntary traditional forensic DNA in hopes to find the killer. Sadly, it did not help in finding a suspect, but it did help in eliminating people. When all leads that had came in were exhausted and no matches were found with those within the community, the case unfortunately went cold. Early in 2020, Missoula Police and Missoula County Sheriff's Office connected with the FBI to check out what the newest DNA testing techniques were at and wanted to try and find out if it could finally get the answers they needed. In joint team effort, the Missoula Sheriff and Police Department got a team together, and as a team hoped they could apply this new way of processing DNA if they could get a good enough sample, as the case was decades old. The evidence then was provided to Bode Technology, who was able to take the sample of clothing that had been more than 35 years old and was on clothing that was in cold and damp and possibly muddy environment, and got a sufficient amount of DNA. When they found out they did have a viable sample, it was to be tested at Othram Labs. Othram was able to get the forensic-grade genome sequencing process done and produced a genealogical profile. The FBI was able to use the profile provided by Othram and the cooperation of the Missoula Police and Sheriff's Office's knowledge of the case that the FBI was able to identify a lead. Using that lead, detectives were able to confirm via traditional investigative means that the suspect and responsible party for Siobhan's murder and assault was Richard William Davis. Richard William Davis had worked and traveled around many different states throughout the years. He got married, had a son and 4 daughters, 9 grandchildren, and is said to have been a born-again Christian. He held several different jobs in several states including Alaska, Colorado, Florida, Mississippi, Montana, Illinois, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming. Justice would not truly come, as Mr. Davis had died of natural causes in August of 2012, which was 8 years prior to him being linked to Siobhan's case. He is also a lead suspect in an attempt abduction of an 8-year-old from Bath, New York. I am glad that Siobhan's family has the answer, but I am sorry that they could not see justice in the court system or any true penalties held against him. However, I hope that Siobhan can rest now in peace, knowing that the responsible person has been named and her voice is not silent any longer.